Welcome back. You're now watching the lifestyle segment on The Weekend Show. My name is Andy Madaki. The 26th of June is the World Drug Day, or it's also known as the International Day of Drug Abuse and Illicit Trafficking. We'll be having a conversation about how this affects us as a people and what can be done in this situation. And joining us, we have Kenneth Aneta, who is the National Vice Chairman, Association of Advocates Against Alcohol Harm in Nigeria. Good morning, welcome to the Weekend Show.
Good morning, it's a pleasure to be here.
Also joining us virtually is David Folarin, Executive Director, Live Free Renewal Center. Good morning and welcome to the show, David, who is joining us virtually.
Morning. Thank you for having me.
Let's start with you, David. Why is this day important? Why do we need a day on International Day of Drug Abuse and Illicit Trafficking?
Thank you very much for that question. So there's been a global outcry for a day when we can commemorate, remember, pay attention to, beam the spotlight on substance use uh, and its illicit trafficking. This is because for a very long time, substance use has ravaged several communities globally. Reports showed that in 2023, over 316 million people globally used substances. So that's an alarming figure. So a few years ago, a call was made in the United Nations General Assembly that a day should be dedicated, to speak up on issues bordering on substance use. Now, it's also important for us to know that there's been a lot of stigma associated with substance use, and everybody was shying away from the topic. And well, the stigma was there. It made it difficult to get help. It made it difficult for those who are struggling with substance use to get help. So when a day like this is put aside to uh, speak up on substance use and its related issues, those who need help to access the help that they need. So yes, I think it's very important that we have a day set aside by the United Nations to commemorate or speak up on issues bordering on substance use, illicit trafficking, and related issues.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's come to Kenneth in the studio. How does this affect Nigeria? Because a lot of people say, oh, we just like to adopt what we see around the world with different types of days and different types of movements. Some people till they feel that if you want to make money in development, jump onto climate change or say something around the SDGs. How big of a problem is it drug trafficking and drug abuse in Nigeria?
Okay, thank you for that question. Once again, I would like to say thank you for this opportunity. I don't take it for granted. The media play a very important role in advocacy and sensitization. And I'd like to say good morning to our chairman and my friend, Mr. David Folarin. I hope you're doing well. When we talk about the challenge of substance use in Nigeria, it's multifaceted. The last statistics were showing that for every 7 persons in Nigeria, one has used drugs in the last 1 year, and for every 5 persons that use drug, one has a substance use disorder. So substance use disorder is a chronic relapsing brain disease characterized by a person going after a particular drug of choice, regardless of how it affects him, how it affects his family, and how it affects his society. So for every 7 persons, one has used drugs in the last 1 year. For every 5 persons, one has a substance use disorder. And for every 4 persons with substance use disorder, one is a woman. And women go faster from casual drug usage to problematic drug usage to substance use disorder, because when they use drugs, they use it with multiple partners, especially those that inject. And when it now comes to the rehabilitation and assessing treatment, a Nuendo study done in 2020 showed that for every 20 persons that is rehabilitated, only one is a woman. What's the reason? Because of women face multiple stigma. They face stigma from fellow drug users, they face stigma from caregivers, they face stigma during reintegration back into the community. So when we talk about the challenges in substance use in Nigeria, it's enormous. It's about, the prevalence is 14.4% as at 2018. So that's like 14 million people using substances in Nigeria. When we now look at the fact that these studies were done in 2018, that's about 7 years ago, and there's work on doing new research, but you know the cost of it. And there's already statistics showing that Africa is going to have a 30% increase in substance use by 2030. And Nigeria's already 14% prevalence rate, as at that period was 3 times the global average. So it shows that this day is important to awaken the conscience, to let people know that substance abuse is not just a moral challenge. It's not about being raised bad of values. That there are a lot of challenges, risk factors that can make someone predisposed to abusing substances. So it's not a moral challenge, it's a public health challenge, and it should be addressed as such.
Talking about this being a challenge, I think a bigger challenge which needs to be addressed is the fact that a lot of this illicit drug use and drug abuse also comes from using medication for the wrong reasons. And so we've seen the use of tramadol and some serious pain relievers, which people overdose on, and it has certain effects for them. But we also have the problem of fake drugs. Let's talk about the double jeopardy of one getting addicted to these drugs and abusing them, plus the fact that what you may be taking for this high is even fake.
That's a very, very interesting statement, especially the fake drugs part. I was recently on a panel discussion, and we were discussing about someone that went for a drug test, and she knew that she had been abusing drugs. She actually works in one of the forces, and she knew she had been abusing drugs. So when she went there, she went to confess, and as she was confessing that this was the drug she was using, and she's sorry because they were doing mandatory drug tests for all of them, and then I found out that she was actually taking something else that was actually damaging her body. And it goes with a word of caution to people that are indulging in such activities. I think the dealers are getting desperate, and they are just chasing their money regardless of the health implications. Then when you think about people chasing this high, there are a lot of reasons that people could begin to use substances. Apart from those that some people have genuine reasons, some people had accidents, some people had incidents, some people are dealing with trauma, and they're using drugs that was prescribed for them. There was a nurse in Enugu. She's a nurse. She has an accident. After having the accident, she was dealing with some pain from the accident, and she got prescription for a particular drug that she was injecting. After a while, when her prescription finished, since she had access to those particular medications, she continued using it. But she came to herself and said, no, 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 this is wrong. And she sought help from the hospital, and they sacked her. They did not understand that this was what happened, even though she explained to them. So days like this were raising awareness to let people understand that there are so many factors that can lead to using drugs. You can have a medical condition. Some might be dealing with genuine trauma, rape, accidents. Maybe they were robbed. Every time they close their eyes, they relive their sins. And they are using drug as an escape. Meanwhile, you could sort therapy, you could sort counseling, you could sort other types of help. There are other people that, when we talk about the neurology of addiction, and in Harvard Medical School, our professors explain to us a theory that if a person comes from a family that they use drugs, since substance abuse is a chronic relapsing brain disease, it damages parts of the brain. Those parts of the brain that are damaged can actually be transferred to the next generation.
You know, I actually read that. I read that research piece which says that in most cases, addiction is transferred through DNA, which is why some people have a higher addictive personality when they take this, and some don't. So that's a very valid point. Because of time, let me bring David back in. David. I recall a couple of years ago there was the BBC Africa, BBC Pidgin investigative journalism report where some parts of eastern Nigeria there were people getting addicted to this local drug, something Miri, I can't remember the name. And then there was also the codeine crisis in the northern part of Nigeria at some point where you literally saw people being chained to trees and tables because they were addicts. In most cases, use of some of these drugs are illegal and criminal in the Nigerian legal space. Do you think that the fact that this is criminalized makes it a bit more appealing to the users, or do you think this is a social problem which should be sorted out in a social or civil way in the country as opposed to it being seen as criminal? Okay, I think we've lost him, but I'll have you answer that question.
I believe that it's a multifaceted issue. So there are different dimensions to addressing this challenge. In the line of, and it has different stakeholders that will also be addressing the challenge. In the line of the stakeholders, we have, let me start with the media. The media have the responsibility of informing the masses. And that's what you're doing here. You're giving us a platform to inform the masses. We have those that work in prevention, going to the schools to talk to people on the dangers of substance abuse so they don't initiate drug usage. We have those that work in sensitization, going to talk to some of the schools and talk to some communities, mixed multitude. We have those that work in advocacy, working with legislators to develop policy. I'm opportune to work with the Senate Committee on Drugs and Narcotics. I've worked with them for the last 3 years, working to see how we can develop the right policies that can be encompassing and address the issues, empower the different agencies. The NDLA has received the biggest budgets ever since to take care and meet the needs of the personnel, building barracks. They've even developed alternative development programs. We're looking at other people, the Ministry of Health, that have the responsibility to create policies. For the last 2 years, we've been working on a national alcohol policy to control and regulate the way that alcohol moves through the system.
Yes, and also even the fact that back to the fake, we see have a lot of fake alcohol as well and fake drugs, which could lead to kidney and liver damages long run. David, because of time, we're about to go about. Hear the final take from you. What do you think should be done as people and also as a government to fight illicit drug trafficking and abuse in Nigeria?
Yeah, thank you very much. So, once again, good morning to my friend, Pastor Kenneth, doing an amazing job in this space. In fighting drug abuse and illicit trafficking in Nigeria, I have always reiterated, for me, I believe it's possible to reduce substance use to the barest minimum. I mean, you've heard the statistics that Pastor Kenneth has rolled out. So if we want to reduce that to the barest minimum, we must engage in prevention. We must invest in prevention. And for me, prevention starts in the family. Once we get it right in the family unit, then we're getting it right on other fronts. As parents who are the custodians of the family, we must ensure that we carry out prevention interventions in our homes, even before the children get out. Because whether we like it or not, with the prevalence that we've experienced, we're witnessing, they're going to interact with people who are going to introduce them or offer them substances. So how much have you equipped your children from home? I'm talking to parents watching now. How much have you equipped your children at home with the right skills to be able to say no when they are offered substances? Now, that's the first level of prevention. Then we graduate to the school-based interventions. How much are our institutions of learning drug-proof? How much are they drug-proof? How much work are they doing to ensure that substance use is not encouraged in the schools? Of course, we're going to go further to the community-based interventions. We used to hear that it takes a village to raise a child. Now, that's not the situation anymore. You're driving home and then you see a dark spot, you know that something might be happening. You turn a blind eye. You know, you look away because you feel your child is not involved in it. That's not the way to go. And then we talk about the media-based intervention. And congratulations to AIT putting out information on substance use. I mean, and this is not the first time I've listened to conversations like this on your media outlet. So you're doing a great job. The media has a role to play in substance use prevention. And finally, faith-based prevention. This is something we don't talk often about. Our clergy, the religious leaders, you know, Christians, Muslims, traditionalists, everybody that is in the helm of affairs of any religious organization should introduce drug abuse prevention messages in their sermons. So if we can practice these 5 cardinal points, the family unit, the school, the community, the media, the faith-based prevention interventions, I think we'll go a long way in reducing to the barest minimum substance use in our society.
David Folarami, Executive Director, Live Free Renewal Center. Thank you so much for joining us and for, I like the 5 steps and the areas which we need to use to deal with it. It's very practical and solution based. So thank you so much and all the best with the work which you do. Kenneth, because of time, I'll give you 30 seconds for your final words. Is there any activity around it this year? How can Nigerians contribute or reach out to you if they need more information or resources around this topic?
Okay. We've had a lot of engagement. We're working with different agencies to reach out throughout the whole last week, and we'll have more media engagements. We had engagements in Niger State, and we have other programs going on. But I want to tell anybody that is listening to me right now, substance use is not a death sentence. You can be treated, you can get help. And if you're looking for change, you can reach out to me, you can reach out to Mr. David, you can reach out on, my name is Kenneth Eneto. If you Google my name, you'll be able to find me, and you can find out other agencies. If you can reach out to me, you can Google the Drug-Free Help Net. It will show you a list of agencies that can give free psychological support, and from there you could also access treatment. Substance use is not a death sentence. There's light at the end of the tunnel. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Kenneth, who is the National Vice Chairman, Association of Advocates Against Alcohol Harm in Nigeria. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.